Enterprise Management 360.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tech Chat. Now in today's episode, I'm speaking with Andi Grabner, who is the DevOps Activist at Dynatrace. So Andi, welcome to the show and thank you for coming on today.
Well, thanks Max for having me.
Of course, and in today's episode, we're going to be discussing the case for artificial intelligence for Kubernetes observability. So to start off the show, Kubernetes really is growing in popularity. I feel like I'm having a lot more conversations now than I did, say, a year ago. So what do you think is driving that increased investment in Kubernetes and container architecture?
Whether you like the term or not, but I think the pressure of having the need to digital transform organizations has been driving that, especially because Kubernetes is no longer just the new kid on the block, but we have a lot of success stories. The community is growing, the ecosystem is growing massively. If you look into what CNCF, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, is doing with Kubernetes and all the new companies that have built it around it, I think gives a lot of people confidence that Kubernetes is truly the next platform that you have to adopt. So I think that's why you see a huge increase in adoption.
Everyone's starting to understand it and get more on board. Yeah,
exactly.
That's great.
Yeah.
So why is it so important to monitor Kubernetes, and what best practices can you share with us that come to mind?
Yeah, well, the reason why it is important to monitor Kubernetes, I mean, in general, I think it's important to monitor because without monitoring, you're flying blind and you don't really know what's happening if you're deploying a new application. And so with Kubernetes, we're not just lifting and shifting our old monoliths. While this is often the first step towards Kubernetes that I've seen organizations do, the real goal is to build new cloud native apps, the 12-factor apps, the microservices that are connected with service meshes. So in the end, if you do this right, then you end up with many more moving pieces, smaller microservices that talk to each other, deployed in different versions that may be handling different types of traffic using canaries or feature flagging. So there's a lot of more moving pieces, and therefore getting visibility into all these moving pieces and how they're working together is even more important, because otherwise you have really no clue whether a new deployment, a new change, a new feature is actually delivering the digital business benefit that you were expecting to. And therefore monitoring is just, it's always been important, but especially in Kubernetes with these new moving pieces, it's even more important than ever before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100% agree. And when it comes down to this adoption element, how do you think you would kind of get organizations off the fence who are not ready to kind of take this next step or looking to this further?
So I think monitoring has a great place in helping people with adoption, because monitoring gives them the visibility so that they know what's actually really going on. Kubernetes, while it seems easy from the outside, right? If you watch somebody like Kelsey Hightower on stage and he's like doing his magic, it seems, wow, this is so easy. But we all know it's not that easy. It's very complex. So in order to not getting afraid of this complexity, I think monitoring vendors, observability vendors actually have a great chance to take away the fear of, hey, this is too complex, because we give the visibility into what's happening, and therefore people better understand, if I deploy this new version here, it's getting picked up here by this other service. Oh, now I understand when I make changes to my ingress, when I make changes to my deployments, what is actually happening, because these observability monitoring platforms, we show people what's really happening behind the scenes. And I'm sure, Max, this is the same as with everybody else. Once you see what's happening behind the scenes, once you understand better what's happening, it makes you feel more comfortable with that technology.
Yeah, everyone's more than happy to get on board. It comes down to that education element at the end of the day, doesn't it? Yeah,
exactly.
So another element I spoke about in the introduction was the artificial intelligence angle of all this, right? So can you start by giving us an introduction to what artificial intelligence brings to the observability table?
First of all, the question is, do you like artificial intelligence as a term? Because it's overloaded, right? I think we leave that off the table. But I think what it is, as we're having more moving pieces and more data from more layers of the stack, it means we need to crunch through more data to actually figure out if a problem on one side of your stack is actually really impacting your business, and actually what is the true root cause. I think AI, where we at Dynatrace, we call it a deterministic AI. It helps you to crunch through more data. It obviously helps to learn from your behavior on problems you had in the past. So I think AI helps us to get a better automated grasp on a potential problem, or on something that you just don't know, is this a real problem or not. So AI helps us to crunch through all the data based on statistical algorithms, but also based on historical data. And then it helps us to make better decisions. And in the best way, it allows us to make decisions fully automatically, because these new observability platforms, monitoring platforms that use AI are not just using the AI to ping you faster on Slack, but also allow you to automate your processes based on the suggestions or the answers that an AI can give you. Right? I think that's also very important. It's about getting an idea of like looking into the complexity, identifying problems, but also allowing you to then trigger automated remediation actions so that you can bring your system back to a healthy state.
Definitely. Another element I wanted to talk about is obviously what Dynatrace is offering. So recently there was an announcement from my knowledge that it's extended its software intelligence platform to provide this AI-powered observability into infrastructure layer of Kubernetes environments. So can you tell me a little bit more about this and where this is kind of heading?
Sure. So, I mean, we've been doing this for many years. I told you I've been with the company for 12 years. So we've always had industry-leading monitoring and observability technology, thanks to our both agent-based technology, but also the way we can pull in data from different data sources. The most important thing is that we're not only pulling in data, but we're connecting it through automated end-to-end distributed tracing. So we've been doing that for a while, and I think nowadays everybody understands the importance of distributed tracing. With Dynatrace, it happens automatically. And to come back to your previous question, it works from starting in cloud native, going into your backend J2E system all the way to the mainframe, right? So you get the end-to-end dependencies on a transactional level. We also see end-to-end in the stack. So in the vertical stack, meaning from the end user through your services, in your pods, in your containers, all the way down to your infrastructure. And I believe this is also what makes our solution very compelling and very good, because we are not collecting different data silos and then analyzing them separately. We have connected data, and then we have our deterministic AI algorithms that tell you and that warn you in case there's a problem and where the problem is. But because we have a lot of data also from the end user, we also have a lot of business data. So we see more and more also adoption from business leaders saying, how is the adoption of a new feature? How are we doing in terms of revenue generation of this app? And if it's not as we expected, might there be a technical problem that goes hand in hand with it? And I think this is where our AI helps.
Yeah, definitely agree. And it's something that a lot of people can get involved with. It's just having that education that we spoke about at the start. So, Andy, all I can say is thank you very much for coming on today's episode of Tech Chat and talking us through all of this. It's been great talking to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, and all the best. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Andy. And thank you, everyone who took the time to watch this episode. We hope you took a lot away from it. And of course, for more great daily content, head on over to em360tech.com. Now, just before you go, I wanted to let you know about two great virtual events. One is happening right now, and that's the Tech XLR8 until this Thursday. Their dedicated technology zones allow you to focus in on the content, networking opportunities, and solutions most relevant to you, while still giving you the freedom to design your own agenda with over 100 plus hours of free to attend sessions. So make sure you register and attend now by going to tmt.connect365.com/TechXLR8. The second event is Big Data and AI Corp Toronto, and that takes place virtually on September 29th and 30th. Throughout 2 days, the event will be hosting thousands of data heroes, 200 plus speakers, and showcasing over 100 leading solution providers through a virtual exhibition. So register now at bigdata-toronto.com/2020.